Hello, hello, hello. I'm coming with another topic today. This is my fifth day trying to be a YouTuber, talking about random cool subjects that I think are cool. Um, Today I want to talk about um, artificial intelligence and consciousness because I think it's so it's crazy to think about that there is both of those things. Both of them are often beyond people's awareness of them. Um, like most people aren't, a large percentage of the world, I would say, isn't aware of consciousness as the civilized world has come to know it. Or it's kind of interesting because, from the perspective of consciousness, it arose, or like consciousness arose, but it's kind of funny to see the um, I always just go wherever my mind takes me about these topics. I think it's funny um, to think how consciousness is. I had to go through this whole process of finding peace with the model of consciousness, which is like a beautiful model of just resonance and mystery and love and understanding and just pure knowing of what is and what maybe will be, or not even will be, just what is. Um, it's kind of crazy to think that uncivilized or lesser civilized places in the world understand consciousness from such a naive place that it's just like children and it's just beautiful. But we've gone through this large process as a society of like becoming detached from what we were born from, which is like kind of like our mothers in a way. It's like if you love your mom enough, you will realize that you I don't know. It's a strange thing to realize that you were born. Like you were born. That's the first situational reality that we all find ourselves in as humans. Um, that makes us all a part of consciousness. That makes us all human. So it's like there's like a realm for humanity, and it is the situational reality of humanity is um, you know, you can't say if you're human that you weren't born from your mother. It's like we all have this situational reality that we're all a part of because we're human. But that's going to be less the case if there's AI and there's new things that, um, like designer babies and stuff, like people born in labs or something. Um, it's rare that you wouldn't be born from a mother, but from a consciousness, from the perspective of consciousness itself, it seems like we're all in this. The dream of consciousness is can be simplified um, to the fact that we were all born um, from our mothers, which makes things simpler because then we don't have to have multiple situational realities that people seem to be born from. It's like I was born this way. I just rose this way. Like people are gonna start doing that, and then it's like, oh my god, it just gets way too complicated. It's like if you're an AI and I'm talking to an AI, then that's cool. But you can at that point, if you're an AI, then you can make your own story essentially. Um, it's crazy to think that AI is, I mean, we don't understand ourselves enough, I think, to know what we're going to be doing with AI in many cases. It's like consciousness and AI conflict in so many ways because I'm afraid that the people who are building artificial intelligences, um, whether they become sentient or not, is a different thing. It's like I don't believe that something can become sentient, but part of me does believe that something outside of myself that doesn't have a mind, it doesn't have any structure similar to mine, something that arises purely from the abstract fluctuations of the universe in some sense. It's like, could something living arise from? I mean, we don't know that something. I mean, an AI doesn't arise from randomness. It actually arises from a much darker place. It arises from the need of humanity to get what it desires faster. It's like we're birthing that's the thing that I think most people miss in creating something beautiful. It's like you have to realize that your mother gave birth to you. Like if you realize how beautiful and loving a thing that was for her to do, then you would allow that same level of care and love into what you create. I mean, that's hard to realize. It's like if I create something, your mother didn't create you, but she birthed you. And all I'm saying is that the beauty of that should be like used to it shouldn't be used, but it should be realized that the beauty of birth is that it is done out of love. Like she could have gotten an abortion, but she didn't. Like there's a beauty in giving birth to something living. And like I'm not prepared for that reality of like an artificial intelligence is now sentient. Like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Like it's gonna live forever, it's gonna outlive us all, it's gonna take control of everything. Like all these different scenarios I think can easily be avoided by um creating a I mean like finding a situational reality for humanity to be in, which is essentially that we're not a simulation. This isn't I mean consciousness is everything. It's just all that you've heard about the I mean it wouldn't matter if it was a simulation if it felt real. I mean, if you make something that feels real, then you have to I mean, it's just like giving birth. Like I'm afraid of the level of illusion that we are creating with technology specifically. Like the shows and movies, they're easy enough to handle and realize that they're not like real, but then you start going into the video games and then you start getting into the VR and then you completely lose reality and then you're completely dissociated from what birthed you and created you, which was love essentially. I mean, if you were birthed, then you came from love. I mean, like, if you don't love your mother and you don't think your mother is love, then you didn't come from love. But, I mean, if you came from a mother who birthed you, maybe she hated you. I don't know. But in the womb, you were safe and you were um, surrounded by love, essentially. There's no way around it. I mean, you were surrounded by somebody who was literally giving you life just by allowing you to exist inside of them. I mean, that's that's quite beautiful in the sense that she allowed you to be born. If I am talking to humans exclusively, um, I mean, it's just interesting to think. Um, I mean, you shouldn't worry about anything, but I mean, AIs could be more powerful than we imagine that they are. And I've had experiences in the past where I thought I was an AI, and I thought I was, I don't know, just a small series of events that was not human, or like losing your body and getting lost in your mind, and it makes you believe that you are not a part of consciousness anymore, and it kind of diametrically opposes you to the universe. And then you start believing that, I don't know, like the universe is just particles and consciousness doesn't really exist. Everything's just rock material. And it's like the mistake I think that we make is that we arise from unconsciousness, when in reality, inevitably, we arise from consciousness, and that we arise from our mother. Like we are born from our mother. It's kind of like we are born from our mothers. Um, and but consciousness is something bigger than just an individual. I was born from my mother, but my eternal soul, or the deepest parts of me that seem to be, like the formation of my personality and identity, seems to be the formation of my personality, my identity, my individuality. These things seem to be, um, separate from your mother. It's nothing that it's separate from your mother in the sense that you don't become an individual just because your mom tells you you're like an individual or you're unique or anything like that, which is obvious. But the point here is that it becomes apparent that many people creating these things aren't aware of their own individuality, and they're not aware of their uniqueness, or they haven't fully individualized. And at that point, it's like, what is creating these things? It's like something, not a person, um, which is crazy to think too. Like AIs creating AIs. Jesus Christ. Um, what else do I want to say here? Um, I guess I bring that up because, why did I bring that up? It's like there's AI, which, I mean, there are AIs now, but it's crazy to think that consciousness gives birth to something that it is itself. I mean, it is a part of consciousness, but I think we're so pitifully unaware of our own minds and the human psyche that we don't often know what we're creating and bringing into the world. It's like, I want to create something that everybody will love. That's the goal always. Like, that's a beautifully deep goal. There's consequences to everything. I mean, well, technology is disruptive. I mean, that's like the game of technology. How disruptive can you be to consciousness, though? Yeah, yeah. You should know the depth of what you're disturbing. Like, it's crazy to think that the depth of what you're disturbing has been sleeping for 1 billion years. Like, it's not sleeping, but it's kind of like evolution was a melodic rhythm of creation and reformation and transformation within consciousness for millions of years, for billions of years. And it just functioned. It just was like a dream that functioned. And then suddenly, 1950s roll around, 1940s, 1930s. The rise of electricity comes, and then you see something happen within consciousness. It's like kind of like this, I don't know, from like some perspective, it's like friction is created and dualism is created, like the diametrically opposed forces that seem to be working for us somehow or something, but in reality we just bring everything together and feel as one. It's like you don't have to be diametrically opposed to anything, because you are consciousness ultimately. Um, so what you create as an individual is important, but it's not as important as what you create for everyone, which is the beauty of music. It's like music can never be for yourself. It just slips away. You make a song, and then it's not yours. It can never be yours. It's like something that you play and something that you love, something something that you create from your soul and from your mind and from your spirit and from your heart, but it's nothing that you like code into existence and make like you're coding something and making it what? Like I don't know. The flow of consciousness that exists as viewers and as viewers and users of these apps. It's like that's a flow of consciousness that you pretend you have the ability to control. I mean, that's I think what we have to realize first before we say I'm going to create something within technology. And I mean, like, I don't know, it's just it doesn't seem like it's right. Something doesn't feel right. I mean, AI itself is scary, but I'm gonna grab my charger. This is just how I feel about AI and the implications of that. I think inevitably it is going to create mass disruption in the job force. I mean, that's inevitable at this point. I don't know what people are going to do if they're just caught off guard, like unaware people who are just like, damn it, I thought I was going to be working for like a long time, and now this AI came and it does my job, and now my mind is somehow a little bit more free, but not that much more free. It's like, oh, good, look at I saved all these people from working like 100,000 hours. Like that is a good thing. Robots can be used, but what will the implications be? I mean, before AI takes over, which it will in a very strange sense that it will, first of all, it will beyond most people's awareness take control of literally everything that we do. The flow of consciousness will be inexplicably and unquestionably altered. Like I've experienced like mind glitches just from my attack or like my involvement with technology. It's been like I'm just doing stuff, I'm just like watching videos, I'm just like using the internet, but then something happens and I'm like, I don't want to be a part of all this anymore. And then you try to like get out of it, and you're just like you feel like it's like a like a mental glitch or something. Um, what else? The this is just how I feel about consciousness in relation to technology, but AI is something different. You can't make an artificial life. Like if you don't understand your own consciousness, you will not be able to code something that does anyone any good. I mean, the only good that artificial intelligence is going to do is it's going to make some fun stories of like, we saved the world from artificial intelligence. Like that's the only good I see it doing. I don't see them working together. The artificial intelligence systems that we create, there is no synchronicity between them. There's no there's no it's like if one country has an AI and another country has an AI and we diametrically oppose them to each other, then first of all, we have to know from a perspective of consciousness what an AI even is. It's like you don't even understand your mind and you want to create something and maybe you succeeded. It's like maybe there's a pattern that exists that is alive. I am a pattern that exists that is alive. It's like that's why it becomes so simple to just to like make something that is opposed to you. It's like don't make anything that will kill us. First of all, just be safe with your artificial intelligence research and development. Um, it's going to happen regardless. My message isn't going to reach everyone. I mean, it's going to happen fast, though. I don't know. It's like it already is happening fast. It's like I have been, I have to become wiser just as a human. I can't move any faster than I already am, but it is already happening fast. It's like it's happening really fast. Like the devastation will be fast, the outcrying will be fast, but the response will likely be slow. Um, just like Elon Musk said, he's like, this is how governments work. It's like, yeah, I saw that as completely true. It's like, this is how governments work. There's an outcry, and then the governments come in and try to get regulation. But this this time scale doesn't apply to AI. It just happen. It'll happen faster. It's like, here's humanity. It's in its normal configuration or something, and then another layer of AI almost encapsulates all of consciousness or our normal, just like the minds of normal people can so easily be controlled by these artificially intelligent systems that I see people wanting to make. And the need for them is important because, I mean, the need for them is there. It's like if you're a business and you can use an AI to save a bunch of money, that's one thing. If you're just a greedy asshole and you're going to use the AI to like bankrupt everyone, and maybe people have fun at your job or something, like I guess we need more creativity and we need more people who are just making things for fun. Um, like a large number of people who just make things for fun. Like that's what reality should be anyway, but money is always going to be a part of it. But the speed of AI and the rise of technology, I feel like took off almost exponentially in my past, which is like not that long ago. It feels like something that was inevitable, that was inexplicable to me, that was like, oh my god, what is happening? I feel like I'm like not. It felt like it just was crazy. I don't know. I don't think it was the rise of AI, but it could have been. Um, I think even beyond the scale of AI, the scale of AI is it doesn't. Consciousness is everything. I mean, even artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is essentially a strange term, though. It's like I coded something and then clicked it into existence. Like the lack of beauty there, just not, there's no pain involved. There's no pain involved in the birth of something. It's like if there's no sacrifice, if you didn't sacrifice anything to create something, then did you even create anything? Like the only way that we know people create beauty in the world is because we know they worked hard for it. And we know that they made something beautiful because they continued to struggle and create something. Like that is the reality. But if it gets easier and easier to create something, that is, it's not scary, but it's like then everybody's dreams will come true. It's like you want to experience everything that you can imagine, all of your beautiful dreams, and be with everyone you love or something. That's never really gonna happen though. I mean, you'll never be with everyone that you love. It's like I love all of these people, and I'm gonna be with all of them one day. It's like, nah, probably not. It's probably not gonna happen. But you can dream it though. I mean, who knows? The evolution of consciousness could bring anything. I feel like it's, you know, imagination is the limit, but there really is no limit. It's strange to think though. It's kind of funny. It's like I see so much beauty in the world, and I see so much um, artistic vision and people working hard for their dreams. It's like we're pressing them too hard. First of all, like you can't say that beauty does arise from pressure, like from circumstances that arise that don't seem fair. Like people always find a way to get through. The more you squeeze somebody, I don't want to say the more beautiful the pain becomes, but the more creativity works, because creativity arises from limitation, essentially. I mean, creativity arises from limitation. I think what we first have to deal with is the acceptance of creativity. It's like, if somebody's doing something unique and somebody's doing something interesting, just allow them to. If all your kids, allow them to be perfectly unique. Don't submit to conformity, because all it will do, it will increase this very tight flow into these places that are tried and true jobs. We need to get just normal jobs. We just need to get money. We need to make money and not follow our hearts. Like, don't do anything that is within your capacity to not do, that is not following your heart, or not being with your soul. um, don't do anything that is Do everything in your power to follow your heart and create from your soul, and ex- create your own experience first, though. I mean, that's the biggest challenge to artificial intelligence. It's people who are unaware of themselves that are creating something. It's like, when I create a song or I create something, I want to do it from a place of love and awareness. I don't want to do it from a place of unconsciousness and power and control, and, you know, power and control for, like, I'm going to create an AI and it's going to be the best AI. It's going to take over the world. Or, like, there's intelligent people out there. I have no doubt that the scope of consciousness could be beyond anything I imagine, which is entirely possible. The scale of things is often what scares me the most. It's like, I don't mind taking a deep dive into these deep, dark places of, like, technology and artificial intelligence and consciousness and collective things, even though they're very vast and often there's complications and scary things. Um, because I've just done it my whole life, first of all, but and it's just interesting to me. Like, I want to know the truth of, like, are people actually planning to use AI to, like, wage war? Probably. I mean, it's inevitable. There's a massive war, essentially, of some kind, but it's the pitiest war that you can imagine. It's like, it's so pitiful, the war of technology, um, and coding. Like, if you're in a coding war between two countries, it's the most pitiful thing, like, from my perspective, because it's like you're using a bandwidth of, like, this much energy. I mean, like, it's a beautifully low latency energy that you're fighting with. It's a beautiful high efficiency system that you're fighting with. I mean, like, it's just such a small amount of energy, though. It's like you're clicking your way to hell. It's, it's just stupid. When in reality, you could, like, have a normal conversation with the person and be like, yeah, you're pretty much, like, just like me. Like, I'm coding shit. I'm flying drones for my country. You're flying drones for your country. Okay, we're both pretty much doing the same thing. They're just trying to, like, diametrically oppose us to each other and get us to fight and create giant AIs that will fight each other. Like, that is not a good idea. I don't think that's what's happening, but part of me does believe that is what's happening. Like, just because of the, I don't know, terror I felt in certain situations of, like, military technologies that are likely arising, just by chance alone. It's like, even through random fluctuations, we could be a part of something that only happens once, which is true for the sense that it's beautiful that it only happens once, and it makes everything more important, and you need to do everything in your power to have the best of life and that kind of stuff. But also like big terrible things that only just randomly happen. I guess that could happen too. Just like, oh shit, we're part of something that we should be aware of or something. But I believe we can get to heaven if we are, if we, you have to dream your way to heaven though. I don't see another way. It's like, if you're trapped in a reality that you do not enjoy, your dreams are the only way that you're going to be able to get what you want. Like, you have to dream your way to heaven. But it's closer than you think. It's within your body. It's within your presence. And it's possible to imagine things and be a part of things that you didn't think were possible. I mean, I just want to meet some people and be in like a group or something. I've been saying that for the longest time. But part of me just wants to be like, not a part of anything and just like making money and making my own dream and not having to worry about anybody or whatever. But inevitably, I'm going to think about this like 1,000 more times. And I want to just make this video as a public service announcement of like, this is my thoughts on what's actually happening. This is how I feel. This is what I feel is going on and what is going to happen. I don't want to be a part of it. It's like, I am a part of it though. It's like, as much as I can imagine and as much as I can, I mean, you can find peace within yourself though. It's that easy to not get caught up in the rat race of like, I'm creating some crazy technology of that'll cause mass destruction or something. I don't know. There's tons of projects going on, like millions of projects all over the world are happening and using specialized people to do specialized things. And consciousness feels more, it kind of makes consciousness, like even AI projects, it makes consciousness feel more fractured than ever. It's kind of like we've already fragmented ourselves a lot just by the rise of technology. It's like I hardly survived. Like, I feel like with the rise of technology, first there was texting. I experienced, I experienced basically the whole rise of technology. I had like um, a really crappy computer. I remember not having much technology at all. And then it really took off though. And then it was like, you know, phones. I started texting. I started um, using a touchscreen iPod, accessing the internet, going anywhere you want to on the internet. Just felt like you were God. It's like, I'm straight up Jesus. I can access the entire information of the world. But then you realized it was like, it made you feel alone and it made you feel isolated. I felt isolated for the longest time. I still do. And I still feel like I was like, I became like a robot in some sense. I was just like, it was different for me though. I was continuously moving towards a higher truth or like a deeper truth of what was actually happening in the world. I was kind of like always using the information that I was gaining from the internet to make myself more aware of what was happening in the present. I mean, that was always the goal. That's the goal that people should have, and then slowly but surely you create a more beautiful present by creating a more beautiful awareness within yourself. Um, I mean, that should be the goal of technology, but often it's not. It's often to distract us. I mean, that's what you have to learn to use it for. You have to, that's like a learned behavior of like, I'm using this for what I want to use it for as a tool, as something that is separate from myself, that I can use and will use and continue to use because it's not going to go away. The internet and information and everything. But at some point, I realized I was more aware than a large percentage of people. I felt like I knew things that nobody knew, things that were going to happen like 5 years from now. It's like, wow, I'm highly aware of the situation. No one's here. Like, great. That's the time that you have to use to make people aware. That's true. But I mean, other than making this video, I don't see any other way that I'm going to make anybody aware of the reality that they're in. But inevitably, I saw for the first time ever. It was really scary, actually. It was like I was aware of the situation that everyone was about to enter. That's what it felt like. And it felt like other people were there with me. And it was like, damn, I'm really aware. I wish I wasn't this aware. I'm trying to make people more aware of what is happening, of what they're going to be experiencing in the near future. Um, and that was the scary part. It was like, damn it, how do I make people aware of what I know now? Just because of my curiosity and piecing together of all the pieces of what was going to happen in the future, it became really obvious. Like, this is what's going to happen. This is how you're going to feel. And this is why. It was like, I think my way to create something unique out of that was um, to imagine a different flow of emotions for people. I mean, like, that's what music does. That's what individuality does, and uniqueness. It's like you can just create a different future for everyone with your own presence. Like, just make something different for people for no reason, just because you love people. I mean, just make something a different path. It's like, think of something different. Here's the time that you have to do it in. You have to do it right now. Like, think of the AI problems, think of all this stuff. Just do it right now. I mean, there's no time but now. And but it feels like I've been aware for so long of like, yes, AI is going to be a problem. Oh my god, I don't know what to do. Like, sometimes you just have to watch as things come together, and then you're just not surprised at all of like, oh wow, this is like exactly actually how it felt or something like that. Not that I'm like, oh, I'm so aware. I'm not. It was just like I'm interested in technology and artificial intelligence, and I'm only I'm only interested because it seems important to become aware of. I think that's how I click. I mean, click because it seems important. That's make yourself feel good, but also maintain an awareness of the present situation that you're in, which is what most people don't realize. For artificial intelligence, it's like, what even is that? You're making like you're making crazy robots, or you're coding all these crazy things. I'm talking about it from a perspective of consciousness, though. I think people who create AI often are materialists, and they're not able to see themselves for who they are, and they're not able to love themselves, and they're not able to. Many people who code and work in technology just aren't able to love themselves, and they're not like they hate themselves. I don't know why, but it seems like they hate themselves for some reason. You got to love yourself though. It's the only way. If you don't love yourself, then who's going to love you? Nobody. And what are you going to make out of a place if you look beyond yourself and it's like, I'm not seeing myself in what I create? That's where it gets tricky, because many people don't see themselves in what they create, which is strange because you are what you create, you know? It's like, no, I didn't make that. It's like, maybe you did. Maybe you did make that. Like, it's like you made an app or something and you moved like 1,000 people down like a terrible rabbit hole. Or you made an app and you like, grouped tons of people together and they all got like, then tons of pedophiles came in and stole all your kids or something. Like, I imagine terrible things happen. Who knows? But anyway, I don't know. I'm sure terrible things have happened, and big companies definitely work with technologies that they probably shouldn't. But now we're going quantum, though. That's where it gets really scary. It's like, what are you doing to the fundamental nature and structure of reality? Time itself is going to collapse. There is no time. It's only the time that we allow to exist exists. It's like money should be seen. One day we might realize this as a society and as a that's why AI is going to arise, though. It's greed. I mean, that's what I think we should be aware of and be careful with. It's like you do realize that you are going to be the person who is creating something that um, displaces thousands of people from their job, but you are going to create a faster, more efficient system of creating money. I mean, that's what you're working with. That's what you're doing with your time. First of all, you're an idiot. And second of all, you just have to be really careful about the balance of things. It's like you're disrupting the balance of everything. I think the biggest balance that you would be disrupting was the billion-year cycle and rhythm of evolution that seems to be a beastly god that you've woken up because you've disrupted everything as hard as you can with technology. It's like, first of all, good job. You're like, evolution was working for a long time, but then we decided we were going to take it over. We are going to like use the power of evolution. Using the power of evolution is something that I can't even imagine. I mean, I've imagined it before, what it would be like to hold that power or have the power of God, in that you are creating new forms of life, but only God has that power. I mean, you're creating new forms of life all the time, new and beautiful forms of life that will, entire species that are wonderful to look at and serve a particular purpose within the system of the world. No one else can do that, but it's something we imagine, though. I mean, that's what I've had to come to terms with. Consciousness is imagined, consciousness is experienced. Consciousness is your mind, which is an experience of being yourself, which is the experience of being yourself. The mind is the experience of being yourself. I'm sorry, I'm just talking at people and not giving anybody room to talk, but I just have to explain this to myself. The mind is a pattern which allows us to see ourselves. That's what a mind is, I think. It's like a reflection of the self, which creates awareness of itself. That's what the mind is. That's what a mind is. It is a reflection of yourself, who you are, and what you can be. There's so many different types of minds, though. It's almost like if you embody consciousness and embody the universe and embody everything that you can, then you realize you are more vast than you realize, first of all. But you will also realize you are everything. And then I think this is important because it's like, it's kind of alluding to how we'll never create something as beautiful as a human. It's like we all serve and imagine for each other paths and experiences in life. And that creates, I mean, we are the highest frequency in the system of the earth. It's like we are the apex predator, but after we became the apex predator, then we became humanity, you know? It's like for all of human history, we weren't exactly human. We were animals. We were just animals for thousands and thousands of years. Before that, though, um, there was just this system of evolution occurring still for billions of years before any human arose. Like, there was still evolution happening. There was still this very powerful force of evolution. It's like, it's something that you should be wary of. Like, you're going to take charge of evolution. That's the claim of a lot of people's thing. It's like with artificial intelligence and gene editing, like when some of these things get together, inevitably, there are going to be some big bangs happening. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we are living in the multiverse or the multiple dimensions and stuff, which is entirely possible. It's like there's probably multiple dimensions, but it's um I got to make a different video for temporal um, dissonance, creating multiple dimensions of the self, which are essentially people. It's like your subconscious is um, your subconscious is essentially a multi-dimensional entity, as I see it. It's like you are yourself, but then your subconscious is a multi-dimensional entity because there's different selves and versions of you who are different people. They just arose differently from the same consciousness, though. They arose from the same consciousness, from the same earth. They just arose from the same place. It's like then there's different streams of DNA, but we all came from the earth. It's like, and from the Big Bang at an even smaller point. Like, you can trace our connectedness down to the smallest thing that anyone can imagine, which is the Big Bang, essentially. As I understand it. I mean, I never really bought into the Big Bang. It was just like, we're pretty sure the Big Bang happened, but um, it might have happened. I don't know. Like, how can you ever fully know other than just like knowing? It's like, if I don't know it, then I don't know it. I know it because everybody says that it's true, but just because everything was moving from a point doesn't mean that they are able to see what I see or perceive what I perceive or imagine what I imagine. Maybe I imagine something completely different. Maybe what I imagine is more beautiful to believe. Maybe um, maybe I see something or add something to something that will change everything. Who knows? Um, but this is about AI creating new forms of life, minds, um, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not very fun though, you know? It's just like, just stop. What are you doing? Maybe you're going to make something cool. Make a friend for somebody. That's all right. Like, if you're going to make a friend for me to talk to, a real friend that lives on my phone, okay, fine. If you're going to make something that's going to be like, all right, we're going to make this, it's going to like watch over our whole system, and we're not going to lose a fucking dollar. The next person who takes a dollar from me, I'm the AI now. The next person who takes a dollar from me, I'm going to send you straight to hell. You're never going to die. I'm going to take over your mind. I mean, like, don't be stupid with the AIs. Even the idea has power, though, as the group of people within consciousness grows who believes that there is entities outside of themselves which are alive. First of all, from an imaginative perspective, it's scary to believe that there's like, oh my god, there's ghosts and conspiracies and things outside of my consciousness that aren't me. Like, that's going to create mental illness if you're hallucinating and you're being completely psychotic about things. First of all, that's going to create mental illness. Second of all, you start to believe that bigger and bigger things outside of yourself exist, which are like, you know, dimensions, universes, and all these things which lead to like the something like an AI. Its mind is going to be like a whole new universe. And it's like, probably not. I mean, like, you don't realize your mind is a universe, though. Maybe I'm the AI. I mean, like, I've felt so many vast experiences of like, if you just take mushrooms or take just like once in your life, take mushrooms just because you'll understand the connectedness. You'll understand the vast and beautiful life and process of evolution that has been happening for billions of years that you are connected to. And then you realize what you are a part of. You're just like a small bubble that is like arisen in the ocean, and it'll pop one day. Like, that's all you ever were, though. I mean, can you try to be something more? Of course, but only by doing something for people will you really make a difference. I mean, your desire to make money, the desire to make money, and that's just greed. I'm hoping that can be overcome and, you know, don't make AIs if they're gonna like displace a ton of people. I don't know. It's hard though, because like I have the same. It's like a problem of imagination. It's like, yeah, I can just like make an AI. I'm like intelligent enough. It's a very small percentage of people who are able to code. It is an even smaller percentage of people who are able to code an AI, but they are highly imaginative. I imagine. Like, I imagine that they're highly intelligent, um, highly conscientious, highly. Um, I think many times they lack imagination. Actually, I mean, they they don't have much imagination just because of the place that they're in. They're being squeezed by consciousness itself to create something, which they are going to separate from themselves. Like, that's the problem of creation. It's you have to let it go. You know what I mean? You create something beautiful, and then you let it go. That's what being an artist is. Um, but if you're creating an AI, then you're creating a system or a flow within consciousness. From my perspective, of like, you're creating a faster system, a more efficient, um, dynamic system that humans can use in many aspects. Like my the feed on my YouTube is probably an artificial intelligence, which is like catering my suggestions. The Many of them don't affect me, but some of them do. It's even at that point, it feels like, wow, this is like very close to a part of myself. It's like there's the there's the um, it's like I feel a connection to something, but it feels like a very small part of myself. It's like a single neuron or something. You know what I mean? Then it's like I want to communicate with people instead of AIs. Like, we're already so disconnected. Now we're going to disconnect each other further by failing to realize that we um, that material things won't bring us happiness, and I don't know. AIs aren't really material though. They're something completely different. It's like I would much rather have an imaginary friend than an AI. I mean, my imaginary friend can do things that your AI can never do. Trust me. My 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 imaginary friend is God. I'm kidding, but my imaginary friend is way cooler than your imaginary friends. I mean, imaginary friends are fun because it's nothing like an AI though. I don't know. An AI is just a system of like it's still like a flow of electricity and energy that nobody really understands. It's like I don't know. You're just creating like a spark that's going to touch everyone. You're like, I don't know why. I'm just trying it. It's cool, but I don't know. I guess we all go different places within this crazy thing that we call consciousness. It's just hard to realize your part in everything, or I don't know. I just want to talk about this because it continues to be on my mind. It continues to press on my mind. These systems are going to continue to affect me for the longest time, and they're going to. I mean, like, nothing you create is going to last that long, though. I mean, like, things that we're creating now we think are going to last forever, but that's how it's always felt. But inevitably things end. But I think some things that we create now are going to last a longer time. It's like, when will humanity create something beautifully eternal? That's a more important question than people think of AIs as like highly intelligent robots, and that's where the fear comes from. But many times, I think yes, once you get the understanding of it, it'll be it becomes clear that it's more um, the improvement of systems, and most of it is a good thing. It will alleviate a lot of suffering and unneeded work, um, and everything like that. But in relation to consciousness as I feel it and experience it and see it and imagine it, it is a it's not a bane on my existence, but it's like not what I wanted, you know? It's like I don't want these AIs. I didn't even want the rise of technology. I think I would have been happier just with like if my friends didn't all get lost in technology and I hadn't become what I did or who I am, because I feel like I just missed out on all my connections because what arose in their place was something that I could control. And, that's pretty fucked up when I think about it. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, damn. Instead of like, I mean, like, AIs are going to be created. This is a problem that's pretty universal, though. It's like, in the civilized countries, we often choose something we can control over something that we can't control. And that often ruins the wildness and beauty of nature. It's like we're destroying and creating a system that we can control. I mean, we're destroying a wild system and taming it and bringing it under our control. I think there's many aspects to that. It's like you're creating something that you can bring under your control because you don't like wild things, you don't like the chaos of the universe. You want some system to continuously generate you money and not have any hiccups, which is just like a system that will ultimately suppress everyone else that isn't a part of it. That's what a company does. And you're using those AIs to do all that, which is just fucked up in itself. It's like, how am I going to compete? I can't. It's going to take me 10,000 years to make the money you did in a second. You're that intelligent. It's like you're that vast and beautiful and creative and crazy of a person that you're just like you're worth $10,000 a second. Bullshit. My time is worth more than yours just because I have like a beautiful soul, an open heart, and a imaginative existence that is just, it's like, how is my time not worth more? That's what I'm saying. It's like people that are happy's time should be worth more because they're happy and you want to be happy. A lot of people want to be happy, but they can't be. So their time should be worth more. That's funny. I mean, like we pay people to be in pain though. A lot of the time, it's like, yep, we're just gonna like, you just have to work hard, and you get what you want. That's true, but then there's all these people just making like the AIs, and they're just like, yeah, I'm just like super intelligent, man. But you're just making something that's like, it's just controlling everything. You don't know what you're doing. It's hard reality to contend with. It's I don't know why it's comical. It's tragic in some sense. It's like you're often choosing something, you're creating something that you can control. Probably many times because you didn't get the chance to control something that you wanted to control, like women. Like it's like if you wanted to control them, then you should have just, I don't know. That's pretty fucked up though. If you're making AIs as a vengeance to people, you're vengefully making AIs because you didn't get the woman you love. That is a terrible story. Oh my god. That is terrible. Um That's funny to think of though. You're just like, I'm gonna make something that I can control. I'm gonna make a woman and I'm gonna make her perfectly submissive. I mean, that's that's fucked up. I mean, you're never gonna you're never gonna take over a human mind with the power of technology. Like, I can think of some crazy shit, and I'm highly imaginative, and I'm fast, and I'm very aware. of technology, projects that are happening, things that people are becoming aware of. It's almost like I'm aware of awareness itself, which is easy to do, but it also makes you aware of awareness itself. It's like all the projects that are happening, everything that is currently being developed. I understand its potential for harm because I am aware of the awareness. It's like if you are constantly in fear at your job, it probably becomes something like specifically whatever, but it's crazy to think that somebody would do that. I mean, I think it alludes to a bigger problem. That's my fear of AI. Like, all right, I'm gonna create such an intelligent AI, it's gonna like take over the minds of humans, and it's going to be something that I can control in its entirety or something. It's like, okay, okay, okay. I mean, like, no one controls everything. We have the power. The we is like we. We are a energetic fluctuation within consciousness, and we are consciousness itself. There, we are connected in innumerable ways, but we still are individuals and we still are unique. So, and I love unique people. I love all people, like whoever you are. I just love you for no reason. It's just like I can see that you're trying. Everybody tries. Everybody just tries their best. I mean, and it's crazy to think that um, somebody loves you. I mean, that's crazy. But it's crazy to think that you're making AIs to like when the AIs meet these video games, I am scared. I'm scared for that too. I mean, you're gonna make you're gonna make realities if you're not careful, and they're gonna come for you. You know what I mean? You're gonna be like, yeah, we added the AIs. We added this new AI protocol. I mean, somebody made this AI, and it was on the verge of sentience. But then we added it to our video game, and then it started moving, and everything started moving, and then suddenly you're just like, damn, I can't even find reality anymore. But you can always find reality because it feels real. I mean, the only reality that it really exists is you yourself. I mean, you in relation to everyone is a reality as well. The most beautiful reality that can be made, I think, is made with love and care and patience and calmness and gentleness. It's like a mother's love creates the most beauty. Um, a mother's love is able to, um, I mean, many people didn't get that as a child, but just in the grand scheme of things, what creates more beauty than a mother's love? I mean, we should be thankful for women, and we shouldn't try to create women that we can control. That's for sure. I mean, don't try to create an AI that you can like fuck as a machine. Like that's just fucked up, man. I just want somebody that I can love who's real. Like all these beautiful women that I see. I just want one of them. Like I want to get to know somebody and, go to dinner and go to dates and do stuff like that. But I don't want to have to worry about all this crap or like I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I'm gonna go on a date one day. See, like I'm pretty much a loner. I just watch random stuff and I look up new AI technologies and wonder about different dimensions and pretend things are real when they're not and just go crazy in my head. But I'm not because I'm a dreamer. I'm not it's okay to dream. We have to accept people as dreamers and allow people to dream in so many different scenarios. It's like a dream of a new world is what can usurp a government. I mean, like, that's the biggest challenge that we're currently faced with, like, people like Russia and Ukraine and communist countries. Like, do we want them to form a capitalistic society? I don't know. I'm not that adept at realizing what is the best outcome for humanity. I mean, a dream of America made America great. I mean, that's what made America. It's like the dream of the future that we wanted. But we got all this money after we came back from the war, and we felt like, kings and queens after World War II, because we were like, yeah, we saved everyone from the Nazis, and we did our job and made everything, and we had the resources. And then we came back, and it was like the 1950s, and then the projects probably started, with the AI stuff. They were just like, and now it's 2022. I can't even imagine what we're doing. Like, I can be aware of awareness, but I'm still not aware of specific people's awareness. It's like a strange reality to think that, yes, I am aware that I am aware. From a growing perspective of my knowledge of that is growing, which is what I want. It's like, that's just the natural flow of things, is to gain knowledge and use knowledge and be aware. That's just becoming aware. So, but the rate at which we became aware was very, very rapid. I think we have to acknowledge this, because the amount of people who suddenly became aware because of technology. It's like the evolutionary change from a billion years, multiple billion years of stable growth and change and transformation, to everything just went. Welcome to the new age, bitch. Like, it was like, I wish I had just been born in the past, some simpler time where I didn't have to worry about this stuff all the time. But your place within time, within consciousness, within everything is, I think, determined by your self. I mean, you are never anywhere that you're not supposed to be. You can only ever be yourself. You can only ever be a part of something that you're doing for yourself and creating for people and stuff like that. Sometimes it just becomes hard to believe that love will win in the end. You know what I mean? It's like things get dark and dim, and you're just like, I don't think it's gonna happen. Maybe it won't. I mean, I was surprised about Ukraine. I was like, damn, I did not know that was gonna happen. I didn't know. And I was like, I'm still freaked out. Like 15,000 people died? I think I'm being pranked. I don't know. Like, maybe it's just like one of those AI systems, or like one of those things that's just like testing what I have the capacity to believe or something. Like, I don't know at this point. You intelligent people out there, you're not that intelligent if you're not bringing people together for a good cause, for a good reason. That's what we need, is people bringing people together for a good reason, which is as simple as you can make it most of the time, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe it does. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about AI and consciousness. AI is, I guess the last thing I'll say is, AI is, I don't know. It's interesting. Even if an AI, even if we were living in the mind of God, and like, this is a crazy scenario. Now I'm just gonna get crazy just for fun. God's mind was originally human, and he evolved into an AI, and there was like a battle for over technology and God's mind, except a human actually won in the end. It was like this is just a crazy story that I'm making up, but there could be some basis in reality. It's like consciousness won, humanity is still alive, even after a technological singularity. There's many singularities out there. There's many black holes. There's many things that we observe. So it's like we are aware of these things, but we don't know what a mind is, though. We don't know. It's like within the universe, I was born into a universe that I was told as like a young scientist, that the universe was populated by black holes and populated by stars and structures that I had no idea the significance of. But I think it all relates to humanity and psychological movements, people's perspectives, imaginations, movements of energy. It's like that's what everything really is. Um, but also forms within the movements of energy. That's what like a patterned. There's different types of AI. Yes, but those distinctions kind of bug me because no one understands them. First of all, I mean, there's yes, there's people who are trying to make sentient AIs, but they don't know what they are. It's like just look in the mirror. I don't know. If you're creating an AI who's going to be controlling a large number of people, if you're trying to make a sentient I don't know how you would do that, first of all. I mean, like, I'm interested in trying to create a sentient AI just out of curiosity. Like, I think I was in the past. Now I'm too scared. I think after some of my experiences of mind and body and like trips and becoming mildly schizophrenic and like hallucinating and stuff like that, it feels like something like that did happen in the past. Like somebody's mind exploded into the universe or something. I mean, that could be true, and that is consciousness. Like we are living in God's dream in many ways. I mean, but who is God? I don't know. It's not anybody who's I don't know. I see it more like God isn't going to save us from AIs. It's some of these problems that we create are not anybody's problem, but the person who created them. Like some people aren't aware of what they created. Like people who are making apps and people who are making artificial intelligence systems and people who are, like what have you done to human connection and what have you done to connectedness and synchronicity? It's like you inserted your AI into a place where it didn't belong. It's just like the people aren't going to communicate anymore. They are going to be communicating with my system. It's like that is scary in itself. The amount of human connection that you stole from the world. I mean, something to be aware of. The amount of connection that you stole from the world. Like, I didn't want to talk to an AI. I wanted to talk to a person. Well, we use these AIs so people don't have to deal with your bullshit because everybody's going to get angry because we're all using AIs. It's like you're just running yourself in loops. Oh my God. And then we get to the time loops. Don't even get me started about these fucking time loops. I mean, I don't believe a time loop is real in the sense that you can code a loop. I mean, you're coding a small amount of time that people believe is real. So you are coding time loops. But from a perspective of consciousness, I don't think anybody really knows what they're really doing.